and let me know where you're watching from and say hello, good morning. You know, you can't come into somebody's house without saying good morning. This is our virtual house, okay? So say good morning when you get in the comments in the chat section. I know we had you guys waiting for a few minutes, but you know, we just wanted to make sure we were prepared to get started. So I'm going to introduce you to my guests for those of you who are unfamiliar, although I know a lot of you are not. Today, we're joined by Reverend Frederick Douglass Haynes III, a longtime Dallas pastor, civil rights leader, community advocate as well, now stepping into the political arena. Reverend Haynes has worked at every level from voter education to economic empowerment to civil and human rights advocacy. Now he's running to take the place of Rep. Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett in Texas' 30th Congressional District. Now, if you don't know, this is a seat with deep roots in Black political history, going back to Congresswoman Bernice Johnson. So I do want to start here. You said, Reverend Haynes, District 30 deserves a representative who is committed, present, and prepared to fight for the people in every single day and way, that I should say. What does that actually look like on the ground, and why now at this moment in our history?
Well, first, let me just say thank you. You, of course, are someone that I have long admired. That should not be taken as you've been around a long time. But from the time you stepped on the scene, especially here in Dallas-Fort Worth, I've appreciated your amazing storytelling ability, especially telling the story from our perspective. And then you had the nerve to blend your responsibilities as a person on a news show with standing up for justice, especially in the workplace, with your pushing the Crown Act. And so I want to thank you for that. And then, you know, when you could have settled in what you were doing, you were absolutely successful, and you decide to take a step of faith and, you know, leave comfort and go into discomfort in order to pursue the purpose and passion that God has placed in you. So I want to say thank you for all that you do. You have been a topic of some of my sermons because to see faith in action for me is what this thing is all about. A lot of folk talk it, you walk it. And so I want to salute you for that and thank you for this opportunity to walk in the fruit of your faith and vision as we have this conversation. Why now? You kind of gave for me the backdrop of District 30. District 30 was created because of the fight of our community, especially led by the late great icon Bernice Johnson, when in North Texas, in spite of the fact that you had all of these Black and brown people in this area, we did not have representation. And so I'm old enough to remember when the fight took place to carve out a district where we would have a voice. And I'm concerned, especially in this era, that there is a determination in this political climate to mute our voice, to ensure that we do not have impact. And I have spent the majority of my life fighting for those who have no voice. And so it's almost as if the calling that has been on my life to fight from the outside has now led and pushed me to fight inside. For me, I promise you, in the Tashara Parker spirit, it would be a lot easier just to keep doing what I've been doing, but to actually take the fight in the house, as it were, and continue what our beloved Congresswoman has been doing since she's been in office. She has literally made this a nationally known and respected seat because of her fight. And so I've got to salute our next senator who has been kind enough to endorse me. She's my friend, she's my member, and I want to salute her as we move forward. But again, I think it's the combination of the historic nature of the seat, where we did not have a voice, and our community fought so that we would have a voice. And now we have a fighter in Jasmine Crockett who has taken the fight to this administration, fighting for this country to be true to what it said on paper, to use the language of Dr. King. And I basically want to continue that fight while at the same time filing for bills that will continue to create the kind
Before
of.
you get to those bills, Pastor Haynes, I do want to ask you this, because you were already talking about continuity as if you were reading my questions. And if you know me, y'all know I don't send no questions ahead of time.
You ain't
But look, those PR folks were like, can we get the questions? No, that ain't what this is about. So we talk about continuity. You mentioned, and we discussed Eddie Bernice Johnson slightly, and then you just mentioned Congresswoman Crockett. Do you feel a sense of continuity with that legacy, and what will help you, I should say, build on that as you step into this new role?
Well, I definitely feel a sense of continuity. Number one, because I'm a fighter, and I am stepping into the ring to basically replace, and I hate to use that word, but
Right.
to continue the work of, one of the greatest fighters we have in Congress today, if not the greatest fighter in Jasmine Crockett. The only reason that, to be honest, I have felt such energy from the community since the announcement is because they recognize that for 40 plus years, while serving as senior pastor of Friendship West, I've been fighting for economic justice, fighting for voter protection, fighting for justice in a criminal justice system that has been downright criminal. So I have spent my ministry years fighting for justice. And so this is a continuation, both on my side, but also in terms of what the district has come to represent under the leadership of Congresswoman Crockett.
You mentioned your 40 years as a pastor, growing Friendship West. You've been deeply involved, though, in civic life of those 40 years. Some folks might ask, what does being a pastor have to do with being a legislator? And I want to ask you, how would you answer a question like that?
Right. Thank you for that question. First, I'm really stepping into a tradition where I'm not new to, or this is not new, I should say, for a pastor, especially of a Black church. I think we all know that perhaps the greatest legislator in terms of passing legislation in the history of Congress was the late, great Reverend Pastor Adam Clayton Powell Jr., who pastored the great Abyssinia Baptist Church while he was the congressman from Harlem. Not to mention, by way of history, there are a number of individuals from one of the first congresspersons from Louisiana. He was also a pastor while he served in Congress, and so this is not new. We have a number of persons who are in Congress right now, who are also in the pastorate. And then for me, when you look at the definition of politics, legislating as it were, most say it has to do with the art and science of who gets what. It's the art and science of distributing resources. In my scriptures, it says that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. If that's the case, then surely people of faith and faith leaders should have some say in how resources are distributed. I come from a tradition where it's about mixing Jesus with justice, and really, I should say, marrying Jesus with justice, because Jesus, in my faith tradition, was concerned about the least of these, concerned about those who were poor, concerned about those who did not have access to health care, who were down and out. And so, with that being my faith value, I feel it's necessary to get in the ring, as it were, the political ring, so that when resources are being distributed, those who are have-nots are not continuously exploited by the have-gots. And so my values drive me into this race.
Okay, I do want to thank you for that. And I want to say hello to everybody that is watching in the comments. You got over 150 people. Might be hitting a live streaming record right now for this page. So they're watching right now. Yolanda, hello. Deidre, Cecil, Edwin, thank you for your comment. Deborah, Dorothy, Boss Level 8. Y'all have to change those usernames, okay? Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Regina, if I missed anyone, Sherry, Darren, Faith, thank you guys so much. Please continue to leave your comments. Most importantly, I want to hear your questions. We would love to answer those on the spot. Of course, I have everything prepared beforehand. that I've worked on. But I would love to answer some questions, especially for folks who are actually in the district. I want to lean toward those congressional maps that folks are familiar with. They've been widely criticized as racially gerrymandered, and many worry it dilutes representation, Black representation specifically. How do you feel those new maps will impact your run currently? And what will you do in Congress to protect communities of color from being politically marginalized?
And I thank you so much for that question, because you were there in Austin, as well as in Arlington, when we had the redistricting hearings where we were not heard. You saw the masses of people who came out in opposition to this mid-decade gerrymandering that was being pushed, because our governor decided that the politics of brown nosing the president of the United States is greater than public service. And so, as a consequence, when they pushed through these maps, one of the things that we noted, and Congresswoman Crockett said this repeatedly, is that they literally gutted District 30 of our economic engines. And so, whereas before we had Love Field and we had the hospital district, we had much of downtown, we have lost that because of this racist gerrymandering. And one of the things that, again, Congresswoman Crockett pointed out is that when those economic engines were a part of our district, then they had to be accountable to congressional leadership, as well as they had an opportunity to be invested in by congressional leadership. So one of the things that has happened is that they have literally hurt our district when it comes to the economy of our district. And so one of the main priorities that we will have is lifting up the idea of bringing economic justice to a district that is suffering from economic violence. And that economic violence shows up in the fact that for too many in our district, we find ourselves either jobless or unable to afford just making it from day to day. The sad reality is that, you know, if members of our district have one crisis or miss a paycheck, the bottom line is that they will fall into economic devastation because of, again, of the economic violence that is the result of the redistricting that has taken place, as well as the poor management of this economy by the current administration. And so we have to put the people first. We have to go back to recognizing that real leadership is about solving problems and serving people. And if you ain't solving problems and serving people, the question becomes, what are you here for? And so I think it's very important that we recognize that jobs, and not just jobs, but well-paying jobs.
Yeah.
It's about, for me, jobs that reflect and pay according to real, how do I put this? Real economic criterion for what it means to get by today. And not just get by, but to have economic security. That is something that is lacking not only in District 30, but across this country, again, because of the political or the economic mismanagement of the current administration, not to mention what's happening in Austin, because, again, they do not put the people first. And this campaign, this cause, this movement is about putting the people first.
If you guys are watching on YouTube, I'm seeing all of your comments. Thank you so much. And I'm going to try to get to some of those questions here in just a bit. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, comment. It helps with the algorithm. Same thing if you're on Facebook. Make sure you like this post, repost it, share it, all those good things. I want to talk about some of your top priorities, Reverend Haynes. You identified some big issues along the campaign trail: affordable healthcare, economic justice, housing, expanding opportunity. If you narrow it down to your top one or two priorities, what are those, and how do you plan to actually implement those? Emphasis on how, if elected.
Right. Thank you for that. So number one, of course, has to do with affordability and economic justice. And I bring those together because if you don't have economic justice, then you're not going to have affordability. And so in light of that, I think that it's necessary that we take a look by way of the how at, okay, so what does it mean? What is a true cost of living in various areas? One of the proposals that I hear often is, let's raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, $20 an hour. Well, okay, that sounds good on the surface, but what it costs to live in Dallas is not the same as what it costs to live in Midland, Texas, for example. No shade on either place. I'm simply saying that a true cost of living says, okay, in order for me to live in Dallas, the Dallas News came out, I guess, the end of the last year, and it talked about to live in Dallas at this point, you know, successfully, it takes like an $80,000 a year job. So if there's an $80,000 a year job that it costs, that it will take for me to live in Dallas, if I throw out an arbitrary number of $20 an hour, $20 an hour is not going to equate to $80,000 per year. And so it's very important that we measure a true cost of living. And then based on that, we find ourselves passing legislation for a living wage. I don't dare say a minimum wage, but a living wage that addresses where people live, that again is a true cost of living as opposed to a minimum wage. Because again, what it costs to live in New York ain't the same as what it costs to live in Dallas, Texas. And so that's one of the first things that we will be pushing for. The second thing I want to say is that, you know, one of the things that is not discussed much is that in District 30, there are sections of that district where the mortality rate is 15 years less than someone who lives just 15, 20 minutes away on the north side of town because of environmental injustice, because of archaic racist zoning laws that allow for industrial pieces to be built that poison the air in our community. I was one of the ones who fought when they had Shingle Mountain juxtaposed right next door to a member of our church. And you had this 10-story mountain of shingles from rooftops that basically came from the other side of town. And they literally had this trash dump area right next to the home of a member of our church, and we fought to get rid of Shingle Mountain. Just 2 years ago, we had to sue the city of Dallas.
How long, real quick, was Shingle Mountain in the neighborhood? How long was that? You know, around about 5 years, 10. How long was that there before they actually removed it?
Tashara, it took at least 5-6 years, and as a consequence, the member who I'm talking about, she now has lung issues because she was inhaling. Imagine the heat in Texas bouncing off shingles 10 stories high, and you're inhaling the toxins. And so now she's, suffering because of policies and zoning that allowed for such a thing to happen.
Real quick, we got a couple of questions. I want to start off with Desiree. What is a phone number for those of us in other states who want to help on the campaign? I am a Pennsylvania political consultant and strategist from PA, 50 years experience. So do you want to give them your website real quick?
Yeah, thank you so much. Please look up our website. It is HaynesForCongress.com. HaynesForCongress.com. Go to that and we will get back to you. Thank you so much.
We have another question from Sandra. Many times good people don't get elected. How do we engage non-voters, ensuring that they register to vote, which is coming up? You have to be registered by February 2nd. That is very important, a very important date that we all need to be aware of. How do we ensure that those folks register to vote plus show up to vote?
Right. I think the time is out for just talking and preaching to those who do not vote. And I think it's necessary that we have listening sessions. That's one of the things we'll be doing in the month of February, and that is we're going to have listening sessions where we not only hear from those who are potential voters, but we also connect the dots. One of the things that Congresswoman Crockett does brilliantly, she connects the dots between public policy and our personal lives. That is what I want to do, connect the dots, so that, again, if politics is the art of who gets what, the only people who should not vote are those who have everything and don't need anything. If you have everything and will never, ever again in life need anything by way of education, economics, social, healthcare, if you are already there, and the only person I know who is there is God, then you need to be engaged in the art and science of determining who gets what. And so we want to connect those dots because, again, so many of us are not getting because we're not involved in deciding who gets what.
Yeah. You got another question here from CPDN, and excuse me if I missed the letter because it scrolled up so fast. But this user says, do you support universal health care?
Without a doubt.
Period.
Period. That part.
You ain't going to elaborate. Can you talk about the insurance issues that we even have here in Texas and some of the reasons why that's something that you support?
Yeah. So let me just say this. I'm for Medicare for all until we get to the point of universal health care. And this is very personal for me. Tashara, I was studying at Oxford University in England. I had an asthma attack that I thought was going to take me out. I was rushed to the hospital in this foreign country, and they put me on the machine, brought me back to life almost. And when I got ready to check out, I said, how much? And they laughed at me and said, oh, you must be from the United States.
Oh, no, they didn't do us like that.
How embarrassing was that? A nation that recognizes that health care for all is a right. It's not a privilege for the few. One of the main priorities of this campaign, and it's under economic justice, because the bottom line is, and I was hospitalized last September for surgery, and I have good health care, but I also had to pay a whole lot of other stuff. And
yeah,
I just kept thinking about what about those who were not privileged like me? You pull up to the hospital and you got to pay for parking. Well, you're already getting ripped off, by the extravagant cost of our healthcare system. Now you got to pay for parking too. And then you go and you got to pay the premium. It was just crazy. I had a fresh appreciation for the real struggle that everyday people experience and how that hits us economically. And we call ourselves a great nation, but I have to go and get sick in England and discover that healthcare is not a privilege for the few. It is a right for everyone. And I made up my mind from that point on, I'm going to fight for healthcare that is free for everyone until I'm done, because I could have been gone, but because of free healthcare as a right and not a privilege, I experience health. And here in Texas, where because of the politics, we don't accept Medicaid. The governor doesn't accept Medicaid because, again, it was a pushback against when President Obama was the president. It was a pushback against him, and it's seen as a Democratic issue. So the politics of healthcare has resulted in many people getting sicker and some even dying because politics, again, determines who gets what, and we have to fight for healthcare for all as a right.
I'll never forget. Thank you for that. I'll never forget. There are some free workouts that, some amazing trainers offer in Dallas, but they're free workouts for the community to come and be a part of. And as we were leaving this workout, a young man basically fell to the ground, and we were trying to take care of him and help him out. And there was a nurse on site, et cetera. And this young man was so afraid of us calling 911 to get him help. And he kept saying, I do not have insurance. I do not have insurance. Meanwhile, we're just trying to help him in this situation that, many of us are unfamiliar with, but we weren't going to leave him there. And I just think about people like that, business owners. A lot of small business owners do not have their own health insurance.
That's
and
right.
So thinking about that young man's story, I don't know how anyone can fight against something that's going to help all of us. So, thank you for sharing that. I do want to move on to some other questions that I have. Who are some of the leaders that you're leaning on right now, or have reached out to help you guide you, I should say, in your political endeavors?
Thank you for that. When I was wrestling with responding to uh, the request of a number of people to get in this race, I reached out to Senator Raphael Warnock, and I need to put it this way: Reverend Dr. Pastor Senator Raphael Warnock. And I said, please share with me, how you are doing this, what led you to do this. And one of the things he said that blessed me was, he feels called to this work. And so he was looking at the trajectory of his life and ministry. And that really helped me to take a look at the trajectory of my life and ministry. That also includes a grandfather for whom I'm named, who was the first African American to ever run for public office in the city and county of San Francisco while serving as pastor of Third Baptist Church there in San Francisco. I also received a call that was very helpful from Congressman Al Green. Al Green, who I have, spoken for in Houston, and who I, again, have a tremendous amount of respect for his commitment to justice. Of course, Jasmine Crockett has been just invaluable in her support and guidance. Is very interesting. As her pastor, I was praying with her starting last summer about the move that she was contemplating making to run for Senate. Never, and I mean never, ever, never, ever, was I thinking about, okay, well, I'll succeed her. And so when we were getting closer and closer to her announcement and the grapevine was going crazy, and that's when people started approaching me about running. That again, I was able to talk with her, and she has been, as busy as she has been a wonderful source of support during this time. So those are just a few, but I've got to be honest. I've received calls from all over the country, as well as support from right here in Dallas, Fort Worth.
You went from the advisor role to being advised.
Yeah, for real, for real.
I do want to say again, for the folks watching on YouTube, I'm going to keep saying this because that's what independent media is about. Make sure you like, subscribe, share the video, comment. I'm reading all of your comments. Thank you so much for weighing in and tapping into the conversation. Specifically, if you have questions, definitely drop those in. If you're watching on Facebook, make sure you like the video, make sure you like my page, and of course, share this and leave us a comment too along the way. I did have a question in here, and y'all are typing so fast. I'm trying to keep up with all of them. Antonio asked, when elected, he said, when elected, will you work with others to abolish ICE?
Without question. I'm going to Minneapolis on Thursday. I've been asked to speak in a service of healing, and I've been in conversation with persons in Minneapolis. I also was in conversation when ICE did damage in LA, and I was in conversation with persons in as a matter of fact, I went to Los Angeles. And so ICE must be abolished. You cannot reform something that is structurally messed up. And structurally, it reflects perhaps on the values of a country where we are investing money in ICE that we have not invested in ensuring health care, for every American. Not to mention, and Tashara, this messed me up when I found this out, and that is, they're recruiting people with very little training.
Yes.
$50,000 bonus, six-figure salary, and that's a whole lot more than teachers get paid.
Yeah.
So what does that say about the priorities of this country? I'm calling for us to reprioritize. Dr. King talked about a revolution of values. We need a revolution of values when you are paying ICE agents, giving them immunity, They're not prosecuted when they do what they did to Alex Preddy and what they did to Renee Goods, what they did to Gregory Porter in Los Angeles. I'm simply saying they're immune from prosecution. Not only are they immune from prosecution, but they are walking around in masks. The last time we had folk walk around in masks, they had on hoods. And
somebody in the comments just said that.
Yeah. So ICE has to be abolished. They're not going to be reformed. It's time for comprehensive immigration reform, especially in a country that engages in what? Messing up other governments, destabilizing governments. And when their citizens rush here, hoping that the invitation of the Statue of Liberty is open to them, they get here from a country destabilized by this country, only to discover if they are people of color, that they are going to be rejected, they are going to be terrorized. And again, we've got to redo our whole immigration system.
Yeah, thank you, Pastor, and thank you, Edwin, for your comments. Certainly keep those coming and keep the questions coming too. You're out on the campaign trail most days, meeting people every day. What are you hearing from voters, and what's a consistent theme that keeps coming up in conversation? And has that changed anything as it relates to your campaign messaging?
Well, I tell you this, one of the things that I hear, the thing I hear most is, Pastor Haynes, I can't afford this. I'm one crisis away from being in bad shape. And that's putting it diplomatically. And so I think we have to be real about affordability. And that means we have to be real about, what it means to what it costs to really live in this country. I'm going to keep coming back to that. And what it means to create an atmosphere where healthcare is something that all have access to. Of course, and again, I keep going back to this, I had surgery in September, and I was talking to people all the time, sitting in the waiting room, and they're coming up to me, and we're having real conversations about, and one conversation breaks my heart to this day. This brother who was waiting, and we were having similar surgery as it relates to prostate health. And he was saying, Pastor, I've had to make some hard decisions about where I live and what medicines I can buy at what time.
Oh my.
I said, how sick is that? How sick is that? Instead of, just focusing in on, and Tashara, all I can say is, having gone through this experience, I have a heightened appreciation for the mental assault that takes place when your life is in the hands of healthcare professionals. And instead of only thinking about, I want to get well and do everything I can to get well, this brother's talking about, I'm going to get this medication now and get the other medication after my next check comes in. And I'm like, come on, y'all, we got to do better. That's sick.
Literally sick. And you can't even worry about just being sick because you worry about all this other stuff. You've worked with leaders at every level of government. What's the biggest lesson you learned about moving policy forward, having had some of those conversations?
Wow. I guess the biggest one was when I went to Austin all over 10, 15 years ago to fight against the payday loan industry that was inundating our communities, especially in areas that were underbanked. And then you have these payday loan stores pop up. And to discover that we had a hard time passing legislation in Austin because you have payday loan operators who are legislators in Austin who get to vote against, overhauling the payday loan industry. And so one of the things that we have, unfortunately, in politics is you have persons who have vested interest that continue to line their pockets, and they have the power to stop change that helps people. And the best way for me to put it is that I'm running because I've been working from the outside all of these years, and I want to bring outside vision, values, and voices in the house. And I mean that literally. Uh, it just bothers me that you can have a conflict of interest and still legislate how people are being impacted by your legislation. And so here, these persons, because it's more than one, they
Yeah.
own payday stores, and they have the power to keep the legislation we were proposing to close the loophole that allowed them to operate as credit lending operations. They have the power to keep it from leaving committee. And so I want to bring, in the midst of these ethnic wars, ethic co accountability to legislation, where insiders who are profiting from insider trading, we have to do better to make sure that in Congress and in places where legislation is going on, there is no conflict of interest, and that
Yeah.
we again move from ethnic attacks in this political environment to ethical accountability.
I swear people don't think you got my questions, and I promise y'all he does not have them. And
No,
somebody's getting on me in my comments. I won't say who yet, or in my text messages because I don't have my little crawl at the bottom of the screen. But if you're watching this, please like, subscribe, share on our YouTube page. If you're watching over on Facebook, same thing. Leave us a comment, question, like, share this video so that we can make sure that we continue getting that reach going over here. As far as my next question is concerned, you've been quoted saying that Congress has, quote, flunked what it means to govern, and that leaders leave office in a different economic position than when they enter. Now, how would you use your role in Congress to hold these institutions and even a future president accountable?
well, and I love the fact that you included the future president who has enriched his pockets since he's been in office. Some say to the tune of over $1 billion. He and his cronies and family members have been enriched by serving as president. And I use the word serving in quotes because it has served him as opposed to serving the people by solving problems. And so, again, I am already in conversation with other persons from around the country who are running for Congress. And so, one of the things we're going to do is come together and propose uh, a legislative package that forbids conflict of interest voting, as well as ensuring that persons in Congress cannot engage in insider trading. I am against insider trading because you get inside information as an elected official, and then you get to what? Invest according to what you know up front. No one else out there has that. One of the things that I live by is Martin King's "Injustice Anywhere is a Threat to Justice Everywhere." And my Freddie Haynes remix is, "If you ain't got justice for all, you ain't got justice at all." I want the same opportunities for what? Investment that Congress has. I want that to exist for everyday people who are walking the streets of Oak Cliff. I want the same health care that Congress has for everyday people who live in Grand Prairie and the Triple D. Until we have that kind of value system where those in public office are public servants who understand what it means to live everyday everyday living, then the sad reality is we're going to continue to have persons get elected in order to enrich themselves. And I'm just sorry, you should not get elected in order to enrich yourself at the expense of the people.
I want to ask you this, especially with the current political climate in Texas. How do you plan to balance local needs with national priorities?
Wow, great question. So I think, uh, and I told her I'd quote her on this. Jasmine Crockett, is onto something when she says, on the one hand, you've got to fight while at the same time you've got to file bills that benefit the community, file bills that fund resources into the community. And I'm adopting that posture that I'm going to fight and file. I'm going to fight by standing against and speaking out against the injustices that are taking place, but I'm also going to be, working at the same time to file legislative policies and file for resources that will come to the community, because uh, we're in a day. There's a passage, and forgive me for preaching, but I got that in me. There's that passage in Nehemiah, and I think Roland Martin even referenced this in his speech, where they are building the wall, and in one hand they had a weapon to fight, in the other hand they had their tools for construction. We've got to confront and construct. We've got to fight and file. And so that's going to be my guiding force in Congress. And that is, I'll be there to fight for us, but at the same time, I'm going to be there to file for us so that we can again make up for what they did when they gutted our community, our district of an economic engine.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to go back up real quick, Cassandra, and thank you guys all for the comments and the shares and all of that stuff. Certainly appreciate it. Cassandra had a question, and it's Cassandra Dugas. Excuse me if I mispronounced the last name. We recognize the importance of brave and courageous leaders speaking up for the people. How do we, the people, support those supporting us? In addition to voting, what else can we do? That may be an easy answer, but Pastor, I'll send it over to you.
Wow, that's a wonderful question, because for me, one of the things I've been saying throughout this campaign, this ain't a me thing, it's a we thing. It's never just one person. I like to think of this not as my campaign, but our cause. And so that question means so much to me. Again, please go to our website, look for ways to plug in to the campaign, but also uh, it is so important that in your everyday conversations, that you are inspiring and encouraging people to become engaged in the political process, encouraging people to register to vote. Tashara, I got to say this. It's going to be so important this time, because uh, it's just evident that some people don't want some people to vote. For the last couple of decades, during election season, we've been able to vote in our county at whatever
Oh my,
voting site is open.
yeah,
This year, they shifted that thing on us. During early voting, we can do that. But on election day, which is March the 3rd, you can only vote at your voting precinct. Here's
yes,
what's interesting: we've lost some voting precincts, and there are going to be a number of people on election day who will not know where to vote.
yeah,
And that's why we are pushing, number one, that you vote early. And then number two, that you educate people about this process and about where they can vote if they decide to wait. And I pray you won't wait till
yeah.
election day, because again, too many of us will not know where our voting site is. And so again, up during early voting, which begins February 17th, you can vote at any voting site in the county. But come election day, that thing shifts on you, because they want to confuse us. They want to create chaos, because again, some people only want some people to vote, and they're determined that others don't vote. And I think you know who they are.
They know who that song is. Let me ask this question that we just got here. This is from Kelvin. How do you strategize your political goals with so many others? Hold on, when so many others are not aligned with it, and count on a majority of inactive voters, which you just mentioned, and count on a majority. Hold on, these comments are going. Hold on, y'all. Look, give me a second. Let me get back up here. How do you strategize your political goals when so many others are not aligned with it, and count on majority of inactive voters remaining as such? How do you strategize from that standpoint?
Well, again, that's how we kill democracy. Uh, I did, and forgive me for this, an etymological study of the word democracy, and it literally means people power. And so whenever the people don't exercise their power, that's when you set the stage for fascism. That's when you set the stage for an authoritarian government where people are making decisions for you, not caring about you. That's when you set the stage for the type of government that we have basically running things today, where they have access to health care that they don't want you to have access to. They send resources to schools that they know you cannot afford to go to, and ensure in the process that what the education of your children is not as well funded as the education of their children. So it's very important that we just
I think we might have lost Pastor Haynes for just a moment. Let me see if he's having some issues on his end. While I'm waiting to see if Pastor Haynes' video comes back up, definitely leave your questions in the comment section. We're going to try to get his video back working here in just a second. Look, I'm playing producer in the background and all of that. Oh, we lost him. He may be able to rejoin. If you have questions, definitely let us know. Somebody said, I bet somebody called. Now, look, we said put the phone on do not disturb if you use your phone. So hopefully that was not the case. But yes, that is true. If someone calls the phone, it will definitely drop the call, drop the live feed. So I only have one more question. So if we don't get to it, it's all good. He certainly spent plenty of time with us. We were only supposed to be on here for about 30 minutes. We're right at 45 minutes. Faith, yes, please remind folks to early vote. Yolanda saying this is good. Thank you so much. Again, if y'all are still watching this as we're waiting on Pastor Haynes to potentially rejoin, like and share this video. Okay, we building this thing from the ground up. I've had some incredible support behind the scenes as we're trying to build this independent media space. Sherry, thank you for your comments. Appreciate it. Yolanda saying, yep, we'll try to wait for him to come back. It is so worth it. I agree. Deidre, thank you for your comments. Edwin, you've been all up and through the comments. I appreciate it. Again, if you're watching us on YouTube and you have not subscribed to the page, definitely go and subscribe, like, comment, share this video even after we are done here. If you're on Facebook, like, comment, repost this video so that we can definitely try to get more folks to watching it. Okay. Certainly make that happen. So again, who is this? Hope Just Me. Thank you, Hope. Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. Devin, if we get Pastor back on here, does he believe billionaires should exist? Okay, good question. We'll definitely try to get to some of those. Let's see. Let me see. Now, I would try to call him, but I don't even know how to mute this thing. Hold on. Let me see if I know how to mute. This is new for me, okay? Yeah, no, I'm not even going to try it. Oh, y'all lost me too? No way. They look good on my end. Thank you, Dr. Nana. Did I say that right? Edwin, we miss you. Tashara, I'm glad you're entering this space to continue your excellent work. Appreciate that. It took some time to get it going, no lie, but I'm happy that we're making it happen too. So appreciate y'all for supporting. Is it Tawana? What is this question? In what ways will your legislative priorities differ from Rep. Crockett's, and where do you see the most urgent need for a change in approach? Okay. Somebody, not in all caps, somebody please bring him back. I'm trying. Hold on. Y'all playing. I really can't figure out how to mute this, and I
Okay.
I was calling you. I was like, I'm not calling him on his phone until I figure out how to mute these folks so they ain't all up in my conversation. So I'm so happy it worked out. And you were able to join. And we have a couple of questions. I know I got to get you out of here. Y'all, we're going to end this thing in 3 minutes. Okay. He's obviously on a campaign trail. He got stuff to do. So what is this question? Oh, I missed it, Hub. Yes, there will be more talks like this. Hold on, y'all. Let me get back up here. Okay. This is a question from T. In what ways will your legislative priorities differ from Rep. Crockett's, and where do you see the most urgent need for a change in approach for the district?
Wow. Again, she and I are, normally aligned, and so I don't know that there will be much difference because I like her theme is Jasmine for us, and so that basically says that it's about the people. And so I'll just put it like this, legislative priorities that are always in line with the values of the people, that value the people, especially people who struggle, people who have their backs against the wall. I'm going to push for, again, universal health care. I'm going to push for funding for our HBCUs. I'll be pushing for funding for public education, that we prioritize that. At the same time, uh, ICE must be abolished. I'm pushing for comprehensive immigration reform that runs the gamut. I'm pushing for an economy that works for all of us, especially, again, economic justice that equates to what? Affordability, the politics of affordability, which says, again, what is the real cost of living? How much does it cost to live in Dallas? How much does it cost to live in certain areas? And then ensure that we both freeze prices and at the same time raise income. Those are my priorities, and I think that that is consistent with the Congresswoman. At the same time, I got to be honest with you. Uh, I've got to be me. I've got to be true to the values that I feel that have been consistent with who I've been throughout my life, and I'm going to do that. I'm not, as much as I count on her for advice, at the same time, I've got to be true to my own moral compass in terms of what I will do legislatively and in terms of trying to organize the community.
Now, Pastor, I was about to say, let me jump on in here real quick before I let you go. For somebody who's watching this is my last question. They're watching this interview right now. They may be undecided, frustrated. A lot of folks are over politics. We know if they don't do politics, politics don't do them. We can say that
Right.
all day long. Some listen, some don't. What's the one thing you want them to walk away with about why their vote matters and specifically why this race matters?
Wow. The great, wonderful Fannie Lou Hamer said that my vote must be valuable because you're doing so much to stop me from voting.
Mm.
And that's what I want to say to everyone. They're doing everything they can. I'll say it again. Some people only want some people to vote, and they are determined that others don't vote because they recognize the value of the vote. I'll say it one more time. Politics is the art of determining who gets what. Unless you have everything and don't need nothing, then the bottom line is all of us should be trying to determine who gets what and that we get in on what is out there to get. And there's a lot to get. Evidently, they've been ensuring that it only gets to those at the top. I want to shake that thing up so all of us have access to opportunity and fulfilling our possibility. And when you get involved in the political process, then guess what? You get to determine who gets what. So go ahead and make your determination known.
Reverend Dr. Pastor Frederick Douglass Haynes III, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Keep up the great work. You the truth.
I'm so grateful for your support. Look, let me end this stream. Hold on.